Well, indeed, the security agencies still have their work cut out for them, as you'll be saying much later in the papers today.
Yeah.
But I think the sacrifices that they've made in the past to keep this country one, so that we can have that, I don't want to say label, but to be able to identify as Nigerians, to be able to identify as one country, you know, powerful in its numbers, powerful in its people. Some people made that sacrifice to keep us one. I hope that, you know, it's something I will continue to treasure, looking at how much blood has been shed just to ensure that we remain as one country. It's something I will value, that identity called Nigeria. Some people say, oh, it's a geographical expression. Well, I believe that there is so much more that we can do to infuse some identity, to infuse even much more power. Because when you leave Nigeria and you say that you are a Nigerian and you see how people regard you, I think that very much we now know what it is that the powers that we wield. And I think that we should do a lot more to protect our identity, to guard it very jealously, and also to honor the memories of those who have paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure that this entity continues to be one. Chamberlain.
Yeah. All right, so let's take you through some of the dailies, and we'll start with Daily Trust this morning. Bandits hold 5 sisters after killing 1 in Abuja. Demand 100 million naira. Pantami's friend raises 50 million naira. 4 other captives killed in Kaduna. Ilorin Union urges FG to rescue abductees. We've intensified rescue operations ascribed to the police. So what a narrative that's making the rounds now, unfortunately, about this. But
we'll come back to that story again, Chamberlain.
Yeah.
But the Abuja Inquirer also follows suit, you know, following up even very more strongly on that particular story, because it's happening right here in the Federal Capital Territory. As kidnappers kill 1 of 5 sisters, anger in Abuja, netizens in race to raise 100 million naira ransom. Atiku wants security rejigged. We are on top of the situation, that's according to the police. So this is the lead story on the front page of the Abuja Inquirer. Ayo.
Seems there is some kind of agreement, because this Nigerian newspaper is also talking about something similar this morning. Disquiet over resurgence of bandits, kidnappers along Kaduna-Abuja highway. That's the lead story of this Nigerian newspaper today. Nigerians want FG to deploy political will, change strategies, improve the condition of service for the police officers. Military has no excuse not to secure Nigeria. That's according to CAS. Find the details of that on the inside pages. That's the lead of this Nigeria Today.
The Guardian, Southeast states, 10 trillion naira legacy industries rot away amid low earnings, unemployment. And then you get to see, I spent 500 million naira defending my election, says, is that the governor? It's Abia federal lawmaker.
Wow.
500 million naira.
A lawmaker?
Yeah.
So how much do governors spend? I mean, all of these cases that have reached up to the Supreme Court, you have to ask, you know, who exactly is footing the bill?
That's why I said, not governor, lawmaker. So there you go. Interesting scenario.
Vanguard has this one. Manufacturers threatened as CRR rises 45.5% to 13.81 trillion naira. That's a late story on the front page of the Vanguard. Trend threatens banks' intermediary role. That's according to analysts. Companies' access to credit curbed as cost of money rises. So page 19 is where you'll find details.
The Nigerian Observer has this at its lead this morning. Manufacturers, SMEs to see improved margins as Dangote refinery commences production. That's the lead story of the Nigerian Observer, beg your pardon. The Nigerian Observer this morning plans to enhance Nigeria's energy security, say PwC, FDC, as firms' energy costs rise by 29% in the third quarter. Details you'll find on page 2.
We'll take a look at Nigerian Tribune. Aftermath of Supreme Court judgment. PDP, APC set to clash in Plateau. That is a big one right there here today. And then you also see controversy trails alleged plan of foreign airlines to pull out of Nigeria. So that's what you also find on the front page of Tribune today.
Leadership has this kidnapping in FCT. Concern as Pantami raises ransom for victims. Says security agencies not utilizing NIN SIM policy. Terrorists kill victim after ransom payment. Demand additional 60 million naira. We have deployed operatives to rescue them. That's according to the police. That's the lead story on the front page of leadership newspapers.
Do you agree with Business Day newspaper this morning? Look at what it says on its lead, as its lead story, what it has as its lead story this morning. 3 charts show Nigeria is not import dependent. Which charts are these? Well, it's not on the front page, but the details you'll find on page 30.
For budget, NAS approves 4.3 billion naira as personnel cost for moribund Ajokuta Steel Company. Salaries to gulp 2.62 billion naira. Budget increased by 730 million naira from 4.45 billion naira to 5.18 billion naira. Cuts self-serving 344.85 billion naira budget, Sarah tells Akpabio Abbas. So, and then there's a bit of highlight on the Armed Forces Day here. Will continue to defend democracy, says CDS, assures Tinubu of unalloyed loyalty.
Blueprint is also looking at this problem of insecurity in Abuja, especially this particular instance. Insecurity in Abuja concerns outrage over kidnapped 6 Al-Qadiriya girls. Police intensify search as adopter slay Nabia insist on ransom. Ex-Communications Minister Pantami facilitates 50 million naira. PDP tasked Governors Abdulrazak, Mustafa, I'm trying to see it right there. Well, yeah, Governor Abdulrazak, I think the family is from Kwara State, but right here, page 6 is where you see all of the details right there. We'll see it there. We'll leave it there for Blueprint newspapers.
Daily Independent newspaper has this as its lead story today. Experts question CBN's sack of bank boards and management. And the questions are endless, of course. Ask Apex Bank Governor to explain details for action. The details are on the front page and continue on the inside pages.
The news are right. Abuja kidnapping. Protests brew in Abuja, Kaduna, as police sue for peace, initiate plans to end banditry attacks. Pantami's ally pays ransom for release of Nabija siblings. So that you also see here. Mixed reactions as CBN transfers departments to Lagos. So that's what you see right there on News Direct newspaper.
All quite a number of stories to highlight, Chamberlain, and of course standing out, I think, is this very story right here in the Federal Capital Territory. Kidnappers kidnapping a father and 5 sisters. Some say 6, some say 5. But the story is that the father was released. The father of the daughters was released to go and look for money to pay ransom. You see there. Bandits hold 5 sisters. That's looking at Daily Trust. A number of papers have that particular story. Daily Trust, Abuja Inquirer. But let's focus on Daily Trust. Let's look at the one on the front page of Daily Trust, where you can see that Modern Daily Trust had that. Leadership newspapers also had that as well as News Direct, Blueprint. All of them focusing on this lead story right here. Bandits hold 5 sisters after killing 1 in Abuja. So the father was released to go and look for this money ostensibly And just so the kidnappers can express their seriousness, they decided to kill one of the sisters, the eldest of the sisters. We understand she's a 400 level student in a university. Wow. I mean, almost done with school, just to hurry it up. So this got on social media yesterday, and there was a frenzy. And just while there was, a lot of discussions were going on, the former Minister of Communications said his friend, a friend of his, is offering to pay 50 million naira as ransom, to free the other daughters of this gentleman. So then there was now discussion about the Terrorism Act, as to whether or not this is allowed. Because recall that last year, is it the 8th Senate or the 9th Senate? Can't remember one of them. Passed a particular law in the anti-terrorism law, saying that it passed the anti-terrorism law saying that to pay ransom to kidnappers is unacceptable. That is not allowed at all. So at the end of the day, there have been big questions as to what exactly is going to happen. The police has intervened in the matter, saying that they are also on top of the situation. And then there was also conversation around the NIM-SIM policy, because some people criticized the former minister who said that his friend had 50 million naira. Some people said, we expected that you'll be encouraging or using your contact within the security agencies to see how the NIM-SIM policy can work. After all, what was all of that frenzy about? And the minister said it's a good thing someone asked the question, because he says that the NIM-SIM policy is working. What he sees is the non-utilization of this particular, this link, this particular program, this particular facility. So it'll be interesting to hear from security agencies to know how that is working, to know if they're willing to use it, to know what challenges there are. But I think first and foremost, what people want to see is the return of this man and his remaining daughters safe and sound, and the the arrest of those kidnappers, to ensure that not just the Federal Capital Territory, but every nook and cranny of Nigeria is safe and free from kidnappers. Because this is really, really heart-rending. To see a father, kidnapping his daughters, and he knows that these people are in the hands of bad people, and just so that they show their seriousness, they take the life of one of them. It is truly heart-rending indeed to lose a child in this manner. So we really hope that the authorities will step up on it and see how they can free this man and his daughters. Let's leave it there for Daily Trust.
It's a really tough one, to take. And one of the other stories here that also highlighted on the front page of The Guardian here is this 10 trillion naira legacy industries rotting away amid low earnings and unemployment. Now, we all do know that, if you get these companies working, you know that a lot of things will change for the unemployment figure. And it says the region's unemployment figure is 6.5 million in the southeast. Lagos realized 651.15 billion in earnings for 2022. That's the 5 states generated a paltry 114.5 billion out of the national figure of over 1.9 trillion. So clearly, it means that governments in this region have got to do way more than they've done previously or ever done. And this is part of the reason why several people always say, look, why don't we seem to see how we can highlight regional economic, at least significant economic advantages in each region, and play up on that, emphasize on that, pump funds to develop that.
Indeed.
Such that we don't keep talking about employment or unemployment and we look to the center. We have to ask a lot of questions of states. What are their targets? What are they seeking? They need to put a figure measurable to some of these things, even if it means providing employment, providing environments for employment to thrive, whatever it is. They just have to do something to ensure that they put their money where their mouth is. Yes, they won some of the elections. Now let's see how they perform. Because some of them are already promised. Imo State governor promised they were going to get what? Is it 4,000 youths jobs in a foreign country, even though many thought that was a joke. But now they need to fold their sleeves get down to work.
Yeah, talking about Imo, I think it's supposed to be an inauguration today of the governor for a second term. So.
Oh, okay. So there you go. So if he comes in second term, we want to see the employment figures. Real figures, not cooked up figures.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain, for that one. And, you know, I find it very interesting that, you know, the word used there is legacy industries, not just companies or organizations, the industries. And that's very, very instructive. It's also instructive that a good number of the organizations mentioned in that story have to do with hospitality, which is a big deal even in Nigeria now. And splinters of that includes entertainment. And then you're also talking about ceramic industry and so many other things. When are we going to realize that these things are as important as they are? Remember also, Chamberlain and Mokwe, that over the years we've heard one organization or the other of the federal government saying that Nigeria is losing tens of trillions of naira to abandoned projects. And these are just parts of those ones. I don't know. But the Nigerian Observer is my pick this morning, guys. And I'm actually torn between Nigerian Observer and the Vanguard newspaper, but I go with what we will call the good news, a bit of it. There's some kind of sunrise on the skyline with this story for me. Manufacturers, SMEs, to see improved margins as Dangote Refinery commences production. Now, what's the pick for me? Is the second rider, firms' energy costs rise by 29% in third quarter. That's last year. So they have to naturally pay more to produce, to manufacture their goods and services for people. And guess what's going to happen? It is going to go straight back to the consumer. And what does that mean? All those conversations we're having about the poor purchasing power of Nigerians, these are the sources of these extra costs that people have to pay. Well, that is happening, and let's just hope that indeed we don't just start this. We actually find systems to sustain initiatives, particularly by Nigerians who dare to go into businesses in spite of the wonderful investment climate that we have in Nigeria. That's the pick for me, guys. I don't know what you think about it.
Yes, indeed, very much in line and in theme with what Vanguard also highlights here, how manufacturers threaten that CR rises to 45.5%. I mean, yes, we all know galloping inflation seems to be eroding whatever purchasing power that people have got left. And so that's why you see people just really feel hard done by. Usually a daggers drawn, road rage seems to have increased, and people dealing with stuff all over the place. Well, government is not mindful of some of these things, and they tell us time and again, but they just need to communicate or plan to what is happening, because people need this help real quick and fast. And we cannot say this enough in terms of what agencies of government also need to do, because it just comes across as though government makes a certain pronouncement, but agencies just seem to be pulling in a different, opposite direction in terms of, yes, we're still going to talk about that tax policy or tax committee of Taiwo Yodele, who will expect certain things to already kick in, but I don't know if anything has kicked in anywhere else, because people need reprieve in whatever shape or form. And we cannot even talk about those palliatives. Was it 2 billion that was released to the governors at the time? So what impact did they make? Because are they still going to release the outstanding 3 billion? And if they are, what will be the condition precedent? Is it how they have performed already? Because I tell you, some of them have performed woefully, because many different states do not feel whatever it is that they say they've done. It's just like a drop in a very mighty ocean, meaning they need to just do much more, and they do it now.
Okay, I think you also see this on the front page of New Telegraph, this particular story. You saw the earlier story about NAS approving 4.3 billion naira as personnel costs for Moribanda Jalkota Steel Company. So there's a lot around companies today. But look at this, talking about what government is supposed to be doing and the environment they should be creating. There's a very tiny strip there, which you might miss if you don't look clearly. Aviation, how interagency rivalry cost Nigeria ICAO audit. ICAO audit, we know, is a very important thing for a lot of countries, for almost all countries. Any country that has got an aviation sector, ICAO audit is always very important. So to see that interagency rivalry cost us that is something very significant. I know that the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, SAN, did hold a meeting, was it last week or so, telling the new managers of different agencies present within his ministry that, look, if you know you're not ready to stay here and work, you better, ship out. It's as simple as that. And I'm hoping that part of the work that we'll see will be cooperation, because for it to be costing us the status or to be costing us an audit, that certainly is very significant. I know in the aviation sector, we'll be talking about how airlines need to get their monies and how to keep the sector running, but this is something that we need to look into. Interagency rivalry, especially when it's costing us money or when it's costing us some accreditation that we need to get. So that's a story to highlight on the front page of New Telegraph this morning.
I'm particularly, excited about the fact that you talked about the collaboration that is necessary there, Mokwe. The fact that those agencies should be collaborating, not competing, is very, very instructive. Bringing me to the front page of the Daily Independent as well, which I believe that without the partnership or collaboration that is necessary, the promise of Mr. President there is going to go with... is not going to go anywhere, not going to go very far. My commitment to sustainable development in Niger Delta on course. I mean, we've been talking about this for many years, even I think it was in 2015 or 2016, in the wake of the new government at the time, that the presidency set up that committee to clean up Ogoni land as a precursor of sorts to ensuring sustainable development in the Niger Delta region. And here we are, how many years after? And we're still struggling with that, sort of. So the president making this commitment is one thing. Doing whatever he can at the federal level is one thing. Existing infrastructure of government, soft infrastructure of government, like the NDDC, the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs and all, those ones are there. But the collaboration with the states, partnership with the states, agencies of the federal government and agencies of the state governments that need to work together is extremely important if that is going to be indeed sustainable, as the president has promised. Sustainable development is the commitment there that Mr. President has made. Without the collaboration, looking away from the politics of it, if some people, just in case some people are, I don't know how we'll be able to have the kind of sustainable development that we need in that environment, and God forbid that we go back to the dark days. That's the Daily Independent this morning.
Well, equally important there, Ayo, is, yes, Tinubu is talking about his commitments to sustainable development in Niger Delta on course. Well, extend that to the country, which is part of what was also highlighted here, because, look, a lot of these policies, they just got to find a way. Because, several people always ask if indeed, because, for instance, I know we hosted the gentleman in charge of the CNG buses here, but we used to hear anything else other than that. Because it's going to be your face somehow, because that's the intention. You don't have to be searching for information on CNG. It has to really be there, given what people are going through at the moment. And
unless, of course, that's not what the intention. Unless, of course, they still want us to use petrol because the refineries are coming up. So, yeah, we'll let you know it's an option.
Affordability
is a possible option, but
give people options. You have to give people those options and let people make up their minds. If you want them to use petrol, you can't compel them to use petrol. If they can't purchase it, if they can afford it, yes. What if they can't? So those are some of the issues that will make the rounds. Yeah, still equally important on that particular one at the bottom strip of the paper right there. So that is Daily Independent this morning. So I guess that wraps it up?
I believe so, Chamberlain.
Okay, so that wraps it up then. We'll look at some of the dailies here this morning. We're back in just a moment. Stay with us.